Welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. I am your co-host Corey Kinnan, alongside Dalton Miller, as always. Today, we're going to continue on our summer scouting series, going through again postseason rankings, and we're going to land in Eugene, Oregon, here to the land of Phil Knight and Nike, and the endless uniform combinations that the Oregon Ducks can flaunt. But before we dive in, Dalton, you broke some news on Twitter today. X, whatever you want to call it.
I did. I actually didn't do it today. I did it yesterday.
Well, yesterday, yeah, I
because
guess
that's
it
how
is.
podcasts work. But I did. We are going to be moving back to the United States. Plan is to get settled back in our hometown in Pennsylvania, and we will be going. I didn't say this on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Sorry for the language. It's 5 a.m, but we will be moving immediately to the ocean. We're going to be going to the East Coast. The rest of the plans will come down in due time.
Love it. I love it. I love it for our
I
time
love it
zone
too. Good
difference.
Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. No more 5-hour time zone difference for
No,
recordings.
we'll be able to record it like normal evening times.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
We're going to both put the kids to bed and come to record, and we're both going to be like, what do we do?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, Dalton. So we got to talk about this Oregon offense today. And we were talking off air, but boy, man, it might be a little rough.
Well, it's funny because I think we said the same exact thing for Ohio State, too.
Offensive line wise, yeah.
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 I'm
Might be some
excited about
parity in
Dante
college football
Moore.
next year.
We're not going to talk about him because he's a redshirt sophomore, but like, I am excited for Dante Moore.
I am too. I want to know, he got thrown in the fire at UCLA. Well, I mean, he went to them because they're like, yeah, we'll start you as a freshman. So, I mean, that was the draw. But then decided, which a mature thing to do at his age, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to learn a year. Let me take my foot off the gas a little bit, tempo back into this thing, and now he's back. So I am excited for that as well.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Oregon made Dylan Gabriel a draftable quarterback over Shadur Sanders. So,
yeah. But
and high expectations.
Correct. We cannot talk about the Oregon offense without addressing the elephant in the room that Evan Stewart did suffer an injury that is going to sideline him the entire 2025 season. Does he still decide to declare after that? It will be interesting to see. He would absolutely get a medical red shirt if he wanted one. We'll see how that plays out. Outside of that, man,
I think and just to postulate real quick, I think he'll come back because I think he'll make enough money at Oregon to make it worth his while, because I don't think, with everything that happened at Texas A&M, with the inconsistency even in his first season at Oregon, I don't think he has this is going to sound awful, but it's the only way I know how to say it. I don't think he has a leg to stand on when it comes to liking his NFL draft prospects right now.
Yeah.
And so he might as well stay in school, get an extra year, and go from there and see if he can improve his stock with a good year in 2025 or 2026. Holy crap.
I tend to agree. Outside of that, Oregon does not have a receiver that had over 30 catches last year.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating.
One of those receivers is Gary Bryant Jr., who I feel like we've been talking about forever from when he was back at USC. So honestly, their best receiver might be DK Moore coming in as a true freshman. So that's gonna set it up. But that just sets up the conversation about their draftable prospects by saying, well, they're probably the one who would have been. Well, that's not true. The skill player that would have been drafted the highest is off the board right now. So the names are limited. We cut it to 4. And And then we can talk a little bit about those upperclassmen offensive linemen who transferred in as well. But we cut it to 4. I feel like Isaiah World is probably the place to start for
Yes.
this conversation because he's clearly the best one of these draft eligible guys. I'm interested in your take on Isaiah World because I see it. Like to have what he had going on at a Mountain West school, and now he comes into one of the wealthiest programs with one of the best facilities, nutrition wise, weight training wise, coaching wise. The sky could be the freaking limit for this dude.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's just get the weaknesses out of the way while that I have written down.
Balance issues were the big
Waist
one for me.
bender,
Yep.
waist bender balance issues. Just not patient enough sometimes, and the patience or the lack of patience comes out against the higher caliber rushers, which in the Mountain West you don't see a ton of. But there's some issues even against like guys like Elijah Roberts, who 290 pounds. And part of that was him trying to set up and show ass and really anchor down against Roberts because he was trying to convert speed to power and push right through him. And we'll get to all that later. But there's a duck and reach on a jump set. He lost the edge. I actually think that he's way more patient. And in pass pro, we hear all the time isn't supposed to be passive, and I get that. But you have to maintain your balance. You cannot get out over your skis, or you are screwed
And
if you miss.
you can't give pass rushers a target. If you're throwing
Yeah.
your hands consistently early, you're giving a target up.
Susceptible to penalties. He his left hand, which is his outside hand, obviously at left tackle, it can shoot a little bit high and into the face. His hands are wide as well. And now I like the way that they were taught because it's the inside hand trying to get up and underneath of the armpit, which I think is a really steady spot because I think that it keeps your half man relationship really, really good. The problem is the left hand coming wide, giving his chest up, and then also not being able to fire into their chest and actually give a little bit of a stun. I think he is, again, off balance too much. He was on the ground a ton versus Minnesota. And even though there's that half man relationship with the inside hand, he still oversets too often as well. So there are things that he really needs to fix at Oregon. But like Corey said, could be fixable. Now, for the strengths that I've written down, he showed some ass against Elijah Roberts. This dude is an absolute stone wall.
Yeah.
Even losing the length battle, even being a little bit late, he is able to really hunker down, dig deep, and reestablish that anchor. He has a ton of natural power, natural leverage, clear length, strong as an ox. I think that he connects well with his left guard on D-line games. He's impressively explosive. However, I think that his feet are clunky. So he has natural athleticism, but the feet need to come together. And I think it's just kind of working on the footwork and knowing more how to move fluently as an offensive lineman. The like natural ability is there, and you see that when he's climbing to the second level as a run blocker. It is a thing of beauty. And then I also think that he redirects well laterally. The mirroring still needs help with the connection between his lower half and his upper half and his hands and his balance. But the natural ability to change direction and mirror is definitely there.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude, and his feet are light for how big he is. Again, we need the weight to sit a little bit more balanced on those feet, not so much on his toes. But the feet are light. You mentioned the redirect, dude. That's one thing that stood out to me as well. As clunky, his feet can get clunky for sure, but that smoothness, that change of direction, when he is redirecting it stands out big time. Um, I thought his hands were surprisingly good for playing at the Mountain West level. You
I
mentioned
was,
some of the
yeah,
stuff, but like,
that's where we definitely differ. I was
yeah,
not as high on his technical prowess
so
when it comes came to
I
his
hate
upper
guys that are
body.
coached to shoot from like keep their hands dinosaured in, like T-Rex arms. I hate guys who are coached like that, which Nevada was. Um, but that inside hand was consistently, I thought, up in the armpit. Outside hand, sure, a little bit, but that I felt like that inside hand was consistently up in the armpit, and then I think he's got some unbelievable grip strength as well. So like when he does get mitts on dudes, man,
So
I thought
I
he
didn't,
hunkered down.
yeah, I didn't necessarily see like insane grip strength. I thought it was adequate. But I did see, because there's a difference. There's like the bear paw type of grip strength, and then there's just like that adequate, like you have them, they're there, and you're just kind of able to sustain it. Like for me, it wasn't like dominant grip
Mhm.
strength and finishing ability. It was just kind of like, okay, we're gonna kind of sit here and dance now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. But the anchor is probably the most impressive thing to me that stood out to me. Even if he did give up his chest, like he's not a dude that you
Mm-hmm.
can convert speed to power on, like at all. You cannot unless maybe you're Aiden Hutchinson at Michigan from a wide nine, getting four steps momentum built up, then working through the chest. Like perhaps then, but like his natural core, not only his natural like his natural body weight, his natural core, but like he's also got a strong core. It's not just like he's sitting on body weight or sinking body weight. Like that dude's got a core. So I think the tools are there. We'll see what the leap does from a coaching perspective, but also a level of competition perspective from Nevada to Oregon does for him. But the natural gifts are pretty outrageous with Isaiah World.
Yeah, a great transfer for them. Great transfer. Do you want to move on to the next offensive lineman that we really need to talk about? And I'm going to let you guys know now. We're going to argue about this one.
Yeah, I don't really think we need to talk about any of the other four offensive linemen, to be completely honest. But
Lie.
um, but you are referring to Lalaulu, I think is how you pronounce his name. His name. He is a true junior.
Iapani Lalau.
Yeah. To me, he's not athletic.
Yeah, see,
Uh,
literally the first thing I have written down for strengths is explosive out of the
oh
stance.
yeah, I don't see it. I
Yeah, you're
don't
wrong.
see
You're
a
wrong.
lot of
You just don't want to see it.
flexibility in his lower half at all. To me, he's like
Outstanding
a day three
lateral
bowling
mobility
ball.
and feet to climb
Mm.
vertically. Smooth karaoke step, downhill drive. Are we watching the same player?
Dude, he's
I
like
think this is the
6'2",
first time that we've.
like 330 pounds. He's like a bowling ball.
I think he moved really, really well. I
Oh,
didn't. And I don't look at guys' height and weight before I watch them. I let the tape tell me how big they are.
yeah. I think he needs to play guard. I don't think he has the mobility to play at the pivot. And he's only 20 years old too. So like I watched one game. I was like, yeah, this is a pretty firm back to school guy for me.
Which games did you watch?
Ohio State
Yeah, that's your
and
problem. You watched
yeah.
Ohio State. If you
Well,
would have
why
watched
wouldn't I watch the best competition?
the best competition was Michigan, and he absolutely dominated Kenneth Grant, and he survived against Mason Graham.
Yeah.
And this is part of it. Like we're watching little bits and pieces of these guys, and usually we're watching the same games, and usually Corey and I have very similar ideas on these guys. But like this is what I have written down for him. I watched Ohio State and I watched Michigan. Um, and part of the reason why Corey is saying he needs to not play center, on top of he believes he's not athletic enough, is because there were probably 8 or 9 snaps against Ohio State that were just absolutely atrocious. Like you cannot play center being as bad as he was at snapping the football. He was absolutely fine against Michigan, and that's something that we need to keep track of as he is playing center again this year for Oregon. But I have written down a very, very strong performance against Michigan. He didn't have any poor snaps. He physically dominated number 78, and he survived against number 55. That shows impressive double and climb instinct timing versus Michigan. battled hard, kept his hands going and resetting in the run and the pass game. Him and Mason Graham fighting each other was like two bears fighting each other on the interior. It was a ton of fun to watch. And like I said, he survived against Mason
Yeah.
Graham, and Graham got him a couple of times, and he got him a couple of times later in snaps or in reps as well. But man, he was absolutely dominant in that Michigan game, and that's what really stood out to me. Now, what I will say, there's like fluidity and explosiveness out of his stance, but I do think, and this is probably something that you saw against Ohio State, is that he does struggle to get across face of one techniques and seal on stretch concepts. And I think that's more of a technical thing than it is an athleticism thing, because I really, really like him when he does get into karaoke and is pulling a little bit. They do a lot of like pin and pull stuff um, at Oregon as well, to where the guard will down block and he'll come up and climb instead of just both of them shooting right. And so I like him in those situations. I like the smoothness to his athleticism. Is he a center? I don't know. Is he a guard? Probably. But I think that he has all the physical tools to be a very, very intriguing player going into the next level. And he's young. Like Corey said, he's 20.
He's 20. Yeah, true junior, and he's only 20. So, yeah, we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah,
But
you didn't. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you didn't see it, but we're really trying to like get through guys. We both have. I mean, Corey has a full time job on top of watching guys for his daft on draft work and his film rooms and stuff. And so we are getting just bits and pieces of these guys right now. And so I might watch 4 or 5 games and have a completely different opinion on him, or he might watch 4 or 5 games and have a completely different opinion on him. And that's just kind of the way that summer scouting goes. We do what we can with these guys. We try to see the physical traits. Now, not seeing the same physically in the two guys is interesting between me and Corey, because I think anatomically, biologically, um, we see guys very similarly when we see athleticism. Um, and so it is interesting that Corey and I see Lalu a little bit differently, because we are usually pretty lockstep in how we see guys athletically.
yeah, it is. So the other three offensive line are all transferred in seniors. Well, four of the five, I guess, if you consider Isaiah World, but the other
Yeah,
three are not on Isaiah World's level.
all old guys, like
The other
fifth and
three
sixth year, seventh year guys.
are are hardly draftable, in my opinion. And Emmanuel Pregnon, who's transferring from Wyoming to USC to Oregon, Matthew Bedford from Indiana, Alex Harkey from Colorado to Texas State to now Oregon. Those three guys, yeah. I mean, day 3, the earliest, probably trending towards UDFAs, in my opinion. But again, I mean, in Harkey's case, I guess, but he's a redshirt senior. Like he had a short stint at Colorado, but has spent most of his time at Texas State in a run and shoot offense. So like, how much different philosophy and coaching wise could he see? We'll see. I think those guys are kind of what they are, though. Those past
Yeah,
three. Um, we talked about Kenyon Sadiq a little bit off air. I actually like Jamari Johnson too, but he tore his ACL for Louisville at the end of the season, so who knows if he'll be ready week 1. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've been following up on Oregon spring practices and stuff
it's
like
like
that.
impossible to catch up with
Yeah,
college injury news, anyways.
yeah. Kenyon Sadiq had like 30 targets. The limited reps he did have, I did see a really explosive athlete. If you go back and watch the Penn State game, he hurdles a dude on his way to the end zone. Very freak athlete, but again, let's see something like let's see something significant before we get too
And
out of hand on him.
his measurables are a little bit funky.
They're like 6'3", 238, right? Something like that.
Yeah,
6'2", 238. Yeah,
a little bit short for a tight end, but
yeah. So that's going to take us to running back, where there are 2 upperclassmen, 2 fourth and a fourth year and a fifth year. Um, let's start with Makhi Hughes. I see it, and then I don't see it. with Makhi. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, it does.
kind of in the same kind of thoughts I had about Jordan James last year at Oregon. And I know you were a lot higher on Jordan James than I was, and he ended up going what, fifth round of the 49ers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Makhi Hughes, I see the short area quickness, and it's pretty awesome. I see the initial eyes, and I think that's pretty awesome. When he does stick his foot in the ground and go, I think his burst is just pretty ordinary. Um, I didn't see like a hella explosive back, and I'm like when he kicked it in, it's like, oh yeah, he's going, but like this is like in my opinion, he looks like a 4.56 kind of guy. Um, and then once he does get through that first level as well, his eyes, his head goes down. Um, so I don't think his eyes are overly active beyond that initial cut, that initial searching for a landmark to hit. Contact balance is probably a little bit above average. Like he will run through some arm tackles, but he's not absorbing contact and bouncing off tacklers at a high rate. And in the passing game, I think his pass pro is up and down. The ups are really good. The downs are really down in terms of a pass protector. And then as a receiver, like he'll catch some check downs, but he's not the kind of athlete, not the kind of lightning in a bottle that you are trying to isolate or trying to manufacture touches for in the passing game either. So like the goods, the short area quickness, the initial eyes, I think are awesome. Beyond that, mm,
And here we are back to agreeing all of the sudden.
yeah.
I have it written down. He's listed at 5'11", but he has the foot quickness of one of the 5'8" bowling ball guys. That's kind of how I see him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that same lack of long speed that so many of those 5'8" guys have, it's the same.
Yeah.
I do think that he is a bit of a big play threat, and not like a 70-yard big play threat, but like a 20 to 30-yard big play threat. I think that he has the manipulation ability to make a guy or two miss and then stride to the second and third level. He will get caught at the third level. But I do think that he has that. I think he has impressive juice as a downhill runner when it comes to like gap and power. Like when he makes the decision to get downhill, I do think that that initial burst is there. I just don't think that there's a ton after that. And like you
Mm-hmm.
said, the vision when it comes to anything that's not gap power, not very, very simple, um, isn't as there. Like when I look at guys, and we talked about this a ton when we were talking about running backs this past class, but like there's a creative ability, and we talked about it with uh, Isaiah Love as well, or
Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love as well, where you're able to see things at the second level and create off of that, and just have this innate feel for grass. And I didn't think that Hughes had that,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think that you're looking at a guy who could be a productive, you know, a 4 yards in a cloud of dust kind of guy at the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, it feels like a pretty standard day three back at this point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At this point. And then we have another sixth year senior running back in this running back room as well. Western Kentucky for 2 years, 3 years, and now he's in his third year at Oregon as well. So that's Noah Whittington, a fringe UDFA guy, in my opinion. Again, to be 5'10" and 190, but offer very little in the passing game, which I thought he did, is a rough look. Those are tough scenes. Um, and he's never been a workhorse in his entire 5 years of college football at this point. Even at Western Kentucky, his touches are limited, which could mean there's tread on the tires, but like there's also a reason if you're entering your sixth season and they just transferred in another running back ahead of you is what like there's reasons for these things that you don't. And again, it probably comes down to him being he's 190 pounds as well. Like that plays into it. I think he's got some linear juice. I don't see an overly creative back though. And like if you're a 190-pound secondary running back, those are the guys you want to be lightning in a bottle. Those are the guys you
Have to
want
be.
to.
You have to be.
Yeah, you have to be. And he's not. So Noah Whittington, in my opinion, is like, is this guy going to get drafted?
No, no,
Yeah.
he won't. When you are short, compact, you need to provide juice in the passing game. You need to be a big play threat. You need to be able to make multiple guys miss. You need to be something.
Mhm.
And he's just not. It's kind of like when we talk about guys where um, wide receivers who are big but want to play small
Yep.
and they just can't.
Yep.
Noah Whittington just kind of has like an identity crisis
Yeah.
as a runner, and it just doesn't work. And so, like, a fine enough college back, I don't think he's an NFL player. That just is what it is.
Agreed. I think that's pretty much it for this
Mm-hmm.
Oregon offense. Excited about both those tight ends because Jamari Johnson did some cool stuff at Louisville last year before he went down with an injury. But we'll see how this kind of plays out there. On paper, outside of a miraculous, heroic hero ball campaign from Dante Moore, this Oregon team's a little underwhelming in my opinion.
They'll figure it out. This offensive line will connect well together, and that
Yeah.
offense structurally is good enough to where they'll be able to get guys open. As long as Dante Moore is who we think Dante Moore is, this offense will be okay.
Yeah. We'll see when it comes to competing against like some of the big boys in the Big Ten and beyond. But yeah, I think that's it, man. Do you have anything else?
I'm really excited to talk about the defense.
Yeah,
Really
there's some
excited.
dudes on that defense though.
There are some dudes
There's some
on
dudes on that
that
defense.
defense.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today. That's gonna do it for this episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. Again, we're coming back to talk about Oregon's defense tomorrow, and then we're on to Texas Fest 4th. So until then, see ya.